Actor Matthew Lawrence bravely spoke up this past week about the double standard in Hollywood regarding harassment towards men. Ann Silvers is here. We got to break this down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. So happy to be back with Ann Silvers. How you doing, Ann?
Good. Good to see you again.
So great to see you. For those of you unfamiliar with Ann and what she does, she's an amazing advocate for men out there and as author, written a lot of stuff, counseling, etc., with a lot of stuff in this area that I wanted to talk about, which is the double standard of men being abused in Hollywood, something that a lot of men don't really want to talk about. And recently, Ann, I sent you this clip over because we're going to discuss this and a few other examples. Actor Matthew Lawrence came forward and very bravely talked about an experience he had with, I guess, a director who offered a Marvel role if he would do certain things in a hotel room. When Matthew denied it, he was fired by his agency. Let's watch the clip and then we'll discuss.
Times in my life where I've been propositioned to get a huge role, I've lost my agency because I went to the hotel room, which I can't believe they would send me to, of a very prominent Oscar award-winning director who showed up in his robe, asked me to take my clothes off and said he needed to take Polaroids of me, and that if I did X, Y, and Z, I would be the next Marvel character. I didn't do that, and my agency fired me because I left this director's room. A lot of my other male friends have gone through with both men and women in this industry, but there's a double standard, and this is where I bring Terry Crews. Terry Crews comes out and says it, people are laughing at him. They kick him out. Why? Because he's a man that represents masculinity, and I think our society is less ready to hear that situation going on with men than they are with women, actually. Look.
That comes from their Brotherly Love podcast where the Lawrence brothers, Joey, Matthew, and Andrew are getting together. And this was obviously a big moment that got some virality because he name dropped Marvel. Again, our speculation, my guess, I think he meant to say nominated director. And I think he's talking about Bryan Singer, who's somebody who had produced the X-Men movies early on. And I've been talking to people, had a lot of questionable behavior and actions that Hollywood ignored for a while. But again, that's my speculation. I know a lot of you want me to speculate, so there it is. But I want to talk more importantly about this problem in Hollywood, because this clearly does happen, and I want to bring you into the conversation. He mentions Terry Crews. Obviously, that was another incident where he felt like he couldn't even speak up about it. The leader of the Hollywood Foreign Press went after Brendan Fraser. This was another big incident that was like, my goodness, these really manly, masculine men being propositioned and unsure what to do. Does this surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me. I'm very excited to see Mr. Lawrence come forward, and it's so hard to do. And the boys, the brothers have this podcast, and I'm assuming for some time, and it's taken them this long to get around to this topic. It's something people very much shy away from talking about it because they've been abused. It's actually called secondary abuse, when somebody comes forward with their story and then people in power abuse them. And it's like the people in power join with the abuser in adding another layer of abuse. And then we culturally add layers of abuse to guys who are abused because we are so ignorant about that this happens, and it happens a lot. The cases that we're talking about, I think, are all males abusing males. We also have to recognize females abuse males as well.
Yeah.
So I know Matthew's talking about the repercussions he had in that his agency dropped him when he didn't comply. So it's that layer of abuse given to the abuser, or you are going to be penalized. And similar, I was reading about Brendan that his people formally sent a concern letter to the Hollywood Foreign Press, and then he basically got blacklisted.
Yep.
And we can all see, he's been very forthcoming in the last couple of years as he's gotten back into the industry. We can see the pain when he talks. He's still carrying a lot of pain from what happened to him about this incident.
Yeah, well, then he goes and for the Whale and is supposed to win and won't now. Suddenly the Golden Globes are like, oh, wait a second, we're so sorry. They tried to make a mea culpa at the end there because suddenly he was relevant again. That's sort of what's so sad about this, right? It's like these actors are just brought in, they're the hot thing. And then there was a certain period, I think it was even worse. Thankfully, because people are brave enough to speak now, I do think it's getting better. It still obviously happens, but that's why I'm leaning towards this must have been in the earlier Marvel days. I'd be shocked for this to be happening on the current Marvel watch, Disney watch, but it's not impossible, guys. It could be somebody else for all we know in the current regime. But yeah, the idea that this is, and I know this happened around that era of Bryan Singer, Harvey Weinstein. There have been a lot of these, Brett Ratner was another one that sort of came out as people were speaking of. And again, allegations, speculations, don't sue me. I'm just speaking off of what people have said. Due process, of course. But this happens, and it's sad because they don't speak up. They don't name the person, and then we're left to speculate, and then that's even more problematic. But what is that? Obviously each person, each victim has to handle it their own way, but do you think it's more empowering and more important for people like Matthew to try to actually, or even Terry never named his accuser either. Do you think that's more of a man thing of like, I'm just not going to do it? Do you think they should? What is your advice to somebody who's maybe wrestling with that?
Well, I think once you name them, you open yourself up to a whole nother level of abuse, because then you're going to get the pushback from that person who's been named. Like with Brendan Fraser, I was looking at it. He did name his abuser, and then the abuser has said, "Oh, I pinched his butt." Well, that's not what Brendan says happened. Brendan is much more graphic about it being an actual assault, not some cutesy thing that the guy did. So you do open yourself up to a lot more pain if you name the abuser. So you got to be ready for that. And not everybody,
yeah, it's true, because even
you have to weigh the pros and cons. Yeah.
And then by not naming it, it's weird because then it's like the people speculate and then start outing everybody else. It's like kind of a lose-lose in these situations.
That's true.
So it's a hard thing to do. But again, I guess that's obviously per person, but there's really no easy way to do it. It's whatever the person's comfortable with to at least get to this point where Matthew at least acknowledged that this happened to him is a major first step.
Yeah, and I hope that he gets a lot of support.
Yeah, it seems like he does. I've reached out. I'd love to get Matthew on. I'd love to recatch. We actually did a video together way back supporting Father's Day. We did like famous movie characters and they look up to their fathers. And he did a Father's Day greeting for Mrs. Doubtfire. It was a lot of fun. He was a really good, professional, awesome guy. So I'm glad he spoke up. It seems like he is getting a lot of attention here, and I'm glad he's getting the love as he should. So go support the Brotherly Love podcast. You guys can go follow that over on Instagram. You can follow Matthew as well. But Anne, yeah, obviously you say you're not surprised. What else would you like to add to this topic? I know you're a big advocate for men in general, but what should people be aware of?
People should be aware that males get abused too, and we know it's harmful to females. We got to open up our eyes and recognize it's harmful to males too. We have this cultural thing that says that guys always want sex, so if it's available to them, they want it. That's not true. They want to make their own choices about how their body is treated and with whom and when. And so we need to recognize that, sexual SA of males happens too. And it happens male to male, female to male. I'm even just learning new things about how males can be forced into sexual encounters with females. So just having
anything's possible in Hollywood is the moral of the sad moral of the story. And the other scary thing about Hollywood is we learned with Harvey and now with these other directors, they just cover it up. The fact that the agency, whether it was now or then, it'd be even worse if it was now, because at least we're starting to expose these things. That was the benefit of the Me Too movement, in my opinion, of yes, finally people are speaking up and ignoring it. Like I despise Harvey Weinstein, but I still am angry at a lot of those talent people, actors, a lot of people in Hollywood play dumb to it, right? And it's like, that's what's so problematic of Hollywood engaging and allowing the powerful to keep doing this. So if someone's being, taken advantage of by that system, what do you advise?
Somebody who's taken advantage of by that system?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big question. Get a lawyer, get a therapist. I don't know. I'm at
Start
a bit
there.
of a loss.
Yeah, start there, figure out the journey. You were going to say
Yeah.
something else. Final thoughts as we wrap up this topic on just the double standard in Hollywood for men and why are men ignored?
Yeah, why are men ignored? And then you have this power system. You've got it in Hollywood, you've got it in workplaces. So people in power have power over, and we've been more aware of the power over can hurt women. We need to be looking at the power over can hurt men too, and boys.
Well said, men and boys. You can check out AnnSilvers.com. That's ANN-Silvers.com to learn more. You can also follow her over on Twitter at Ann Silvers. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Ann. Thanks for being here. Come back anytime you got something to spread the word on. We support you wholeheartedly. Make sure you guys support here as well. Hit that subscribe button if you can. Hit the bell for all alerts. Smash that like button and leave a comment down below. Are you still speculating on who the Marvel person is? What do you think? Tell us down below. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching here. We'll see you on the next one.